a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Can you hear me okay?
Oops, sorry about that, people. Yes, my guest was just checking the sound, so all is good. Think about this. You're born and raised in Germany, and in 1997, when you're 16 years old, you come to Vancouver, go to high school so you could learn English. In 2001, you start a family business, a foot solution franchise with your family. Whose journey is that? Well, today's guest, Christian Johannsen. Welcome, Christian.
Thanks for having me, Nancy. It's awesome. I appreciate you inviting me up to the Small Talk with Nancy.
I'm happy that you accept it. Now, your last name is pronounced Johannsen. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, it depends on obviously where you are. It's a Danish background. So my like going back to my great grandparents, they immigrated from Denmark to Germany,
Okay.
and then from there, I mean, I don't really know how you pronounce it in Danish necessarily, but in German it's Johannsen, right? And then obviously here is Johannsen, whatever you want it to be. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I'm not that picky.
Well, I just
to be honest, but
yeah, I thought maybe the J was silent. That's what I thought,
yeah.
Anyway, it's all good, right? I'm just so curious. So at 16, like, did you come by yourself to Vancouver?
I mean, it's interesting. My mother has a godmother that lives in Toronto, and she said that at the time we were exploring, different avenues, to learn English. You could go to either UK, you could go to Switzerland, or you can come to Canada. I mean, Canada was not necessarily on the list, but because she said, hey, you should check out Vancouver because that's, a beautiful place. So they flew over, checked out some of the schools here, and they fell in love with it, which is why they decided to then immigrate. But I came 2 years prior to go to high school. But I was pretty much by myself, except for they dropped me off, because they don't want to have a 16-year-old go by themselves, for 2 years. And I think my mother was quite upset at the time, to leave her son, obviously, miles and miles away from home, right? But sorry, my dog decided to join the conversation.
Absolutely, why not? Now, when at that age, did you know any English at all?
Did I know English? Yes, and I mean, I wasn't very fluent at the language at the time, just because of the fact that most of what we learn in school is obviously, reading, writing, I mean, a little bit of talking here and there, but, you do a few presentations in front of the crowd, but that's mostly obviously German speaking classmates, not necessarily, a big room of English speaking individuals that, you have to communicate with, but you do learn it in grade 5. I believe now the German curriculum makes you start in grade 1.
Right.
So they actually make you, learn English grade 1 and onward, because it's obviously a very important language to learn so that, you can, speak with individuals outside of all the other markets.
Right.
And then especially all over Europe, English has become a big language to communicate, and do trade together. Because, if you have, France and Poland and you got Russia over here or whatever, obviously the number one way to communicate is English, but not necessarily the German language.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's important, like I know here, in Canada, obviously it's French, right? But if you don't, what you learn in school, if you don't get a chance to use it out of school, you don't really retain much of it. So
I feel that way now with German.
Oh, whoa, of course. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Because I use English so much, I know. I mean, I try to have a communication or a conversation in German, even with my mother and my father, who are here in Vancouver as well. But we kind of fall back to using English all the time, right? Yeah. You speak in German and you need to drop a little English word here and there. But even in Germany, it was very interesting. I went back a few years back, and that must have been 10 years ago. And it's really interesting how, before you'd have, sales, for example, at the end of the season, right? So a summer sale would be Sommerschlussverkauf, or a Christmas sale, would be Winterschlussverkauf. But when I went back with my wife a few years back, they actually had Xmas sale on the windows, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of crazy how the English language has really infiltrated German culture, and it's become one of these things where people just aren't necessarily aware that you're going away from using your own language and then implementing a lot of language that's not necessarily yours, right? Because it's shorter. I mean, Xmas sale, and then you have this long German word that's like over here, right? So takes up more space on the window.
Right. Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Now, before we move on to the franchise, I'm just so curious. Like, what were the children like? The other high schoolers like towards you?
The other children, I mean, I was in boarding here for 2 years. So obviously a lot of us were all from, different parts of the world.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was probably the only German at the time, but we all kind of got along quite well.
Nice.
But I don't know. I'm not the type of person. I'm more of an introvert, to be honest, than I am an extrovert, even though I've learned how to, be more extroverted when it comes to promoting my business and myself and things like that. But I kind of recharge by relaxing and going into nature and having kind of quiet around me, as opposed to being in a crowd of people. I don't recharge that way. But I didn't feel that I was unwelcome, and it was a great high school environment here. And I didn't feel like it was not accepted. Yeah.
That's what I like to hear. I really, that makes me feel good. Now, why did you go into foot solutions? Why that type of business?
I mean, my parents made the decision at the time. I was just, kind of starting university, but I was always involved because there was a lot of technology involved with our business, in terms of casting feet. We were using tech to be able to capture 3D images of the foot, especially the bottom of the foot, and then design, custom foot orthotics. But my parents, felt at the time that it would be, an interesting field to go into. My dad had an engineering background, so I guess the engineering of the foot kind of has something to do with it. I'm not sure, but it just came up as an opportunity at the time that the franchise was started late 2000s, I believe, and then we were one of the first Canadian franchisees to open doors in 2001.
Okay.
But it was just on the market, and at the time franchising was definitely a big thing. I mean, it still is today, but obviously it's becoming more and more expensive to participate in a franchise business. And there's definitely the idea of owning a franchise was a little bit simpler than trying to do something of your own. I mean, my dad was always an entrepreneurial. He had his own company in Germany that he sold before coming here. And the interesting part is that he felt that by going with a franchise, at least you had a little bit of input from the North American businessmen to understand how business works in North America, because it's there's differences obviously between Europe and North America, and having a franchise really helped make that transition a little bit easier. There was more help there,
right,
and more guidance than just building a business on your own.
Okay, now you have a certificate in pedorthics.
Pedorthics, you got it. Yeah, you did. You did good. I mean, pedorthics is definitely something that not a lot of people are aware of. It's a profession that's relatively young. It was started probably in the 60s, maybe a little bit earlier. At the time, mostly it was, obviously shoe salesmen that were trying to figure out, okay, how can I make the shoe more comfortable for somebody, by, maybe hammering together some insoles or metal to fit the arch profile. So they would do that in the back of the of their door or whatever, and try to hammer a piece of metal together to try to support the arch better. But then over time, obviously, that profession grew into a more professional profession that was now also providing continuing education. It's kind of like almost like a medical type obviously profession that is a little, I mean, it's a little bit different than podiatry, because podiatry is a foot doctor, and a foot doctor will work on toenails. Sometimes they also do surgeries. I mean, they do minor surgeries. If they specialize in the orthopedic surgeons, they might do major surgeries. And as podorthists, we don't do surgeries, but what we do is like maybe we perform surgery on a shoe.
Yeah.
Right, because sometimes we have to modify the shoe to basically fit the foot, and then we can cut holes in it. We can add lifts to the shoe, and those footwear modifications are things that we specialize in as well. We look at walking patterns. We take a look. Okay, is there a difference in terms of how high the how high the hip is on one side compared to the other side? Do we need to adjust for that? Is the arch collapsing a lot? Is there foot pain? What kind of history of discomforts is this client experiencing? And then we try to figure out, okay, how can we solve some of these issues by either supporting the arch, giving them better shoes that are also providing pressure and pain relief, and looking at a big spectrum of different devices and tools, including knee braces and ankle braces to help, stabilize joints and improve, comfort for the user. But that's kind of podorthics in a nutshell. It's a little bit of a bigger description. It's hard to kind of put it into like, oh, this is what you do, right? I mean, if I say I'm a doctor, okay, great. Most people kind of have a pretty basic understanding as to what a doctor does. I mean, you may not know everything about it, but podorthics is a very kind of broad field that uses a lot of tools to try to solve a person's foot or lower extremity issues.
It's kind of interesting because I think when we're young, like parents often don't realize how important a good shoe, a good fit is, right? And like for me now, I have very small feet. And so people say, well, wear a kid's shoe, but they don't understand that they don't fit an adult properly. So it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're also designed for a child, which is usually lighter weight than the adult, right? I mean, it's okay to buy kids' shoes if you have a very small foot. The only difference is that sometimes it may not have the structure that you need that an adult shoe will have, right? And then because the materials aren't designed to last, you might have to replace them maybe every 3 to 6 months, right? Just because of the fact that the material is going to compress very quickly compared to an adult shoe that maybe has a firmer midsole material that doesn't compress as quickly. But yeah, you got it. You have to be careful when you're buying children's shoes as an adult, because there is differences in height and size and everything else.
My son lives in China, so one year my sister and I went and we bought shoes in China because they fit our feet. It was so fabulous.
Or Japan is very popular too, because there's lots of small feet in Japan.
Oh yeah, okay.
They'll have the inventory.
We're going to check out Thailand too to see what, save up some money, go to Thailand, check out their shoes. It's just all kind of fun. I know you're in Kitsilano, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have, like, I'm just trying to think about who needs to go to Foot Solutions? Like, is there I don't even know how to, like a regular type of customer, does a doctor refer them to you? How does that all work? Let's just say, oh gosh, I'm having my feet are sore all the time. Do I go to my doctor first? I
mean, the thing is that, yes, you can talk to your doctor. Absolutely. We have a lot of doctor referrals that comes through also. I mean, a lot of times it's client referrals, because a lot, it's interesting how, birds of a feather flock together. So it seems to be always, if you have issues and somebody else in your circle of influence might have issues as well. So we get a lot of customer referrals of clients that come out for different purposes. I mean, obviously, we use Google AdWords as well to advertise our services, because you have to somehow spread the word that what we do is actually available to the public, and that's definitely a popular way for clients to come visit us.
Right.
But in the end, foot pain is probably our number one solution that we can help with. Whereas obviously, if you have small feet like yourself, or have really large feet, like say you have a size women's 12 plus, we do have shoes, for that as well in certain brands. And then we have really small sizes accessible to us as well. But unfortunately, there's limitations as to how many brands offer this, because some brands will only do heart sizes, so they maybe run from like size 6 all the way to like an 11 women's, right? Maybe not even, maybe a 10, and that is sometimes too small for the type of client that we see, because we see a lot of people outside of that regular spectrum. Maybe their foot is really wide, right? If you have a really wide foot and you can't find something that fits the foot properly, we also offer a lot of widths in our program. We have some narrow fitting shoes, but unfortunately there's been a number of narrow brands that we used to have that have disappeared during the pandemic. So that's a bit of a challenge, because we're looking for some options there that are maybe not too geriatric looking either, right? Because not only people of age necessarily need our service. Sometimes there's younger people as well, and they don't want to have something that looks too old. So that's the common complaint that we have. And in anything to do with foot, knee, or lower back pain, if you're on your feet all day and that's something that bothers you, we can help with that as well.
Right. I was just kind of looking at your website, and it says people can just walk in, and anytime, they don't necessarily need an appointment, correct?
That's correct. Yes. No, I mean, we do walk-in assessments as well. I mean, preferably if somebody has some significant issues, we recommend making an appointment, because we are getting busier all the time, and the appointment just allows us to set some time aside for the individual to really figure out what's going on. We like to spend 45 minutes to an hour with the patient, just to make sure that we can really figure out, okay, what have you tried, what's going on right now, and then how can we potentially help you. And then the assessment is free of charge, so even if you make an appointment and you come in for the assessment, there's no fee attached to that. We just want to be able to have you be comfortable coming in to see us, and then know that whatever our recommendations are is something that you feel is good for you. And we come to that conclusion based on us having the discussion around what your expectations are, and then how we feel you should look at the problem to really solve the pain sensation that you're experiencing.
Okay. So somebody goes in, because they have, let's say, lower back pain, and you've got your recommendation, and they purchase whatever it is they need, and do they come back and let you know how it worked, or do they need something different after a while?
Depends. I mean, sometimes they won't need anything different. Lower back pain is a very interesting one, because of the fact that if you're standing on your feet and you get lower back pain, it may stem from your feet. If you're sitting in a chair all day and you have lower back pain, it may be something different. That may be postural, in terms of your sitting position. But in the end, we want to hear from you. If there's problems, come see us, and let us know. I mean, we try to do follow-up calls as well with our clients, just to make sure that obviously they're satisfied. But there's only so many hours in a day, so there's not always as much time as we need to be able to touch base with everybody. But we always tell people, like, hey, if there's any issues, it doesn't matter if it's next week, 3 months, 6 months from now, come see us. We have ways to fix how the product fits on your foot, and so on and so forth, right? So we do want to hear from you. We're not just there to sell your product and then not service you after the fact. It's really about creating a long-term relationship with our client, to make sure that they feel comfortable coming in to see us, and don't feel like we're trying to nickel and dime them for everything, right? So
and I know that you're open from Tuesday to Saturday, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Which is really,
so today we're closed, which is a Monday.
Yeah, which I'm just reading some of the things you sent me, so I have it on hand, and so I know you're on West Broadway. I mean, once I put the website on, people can obviously find the phone number and the address for right, so they can text or call or whatever it is, the address, the phone, whatever I said.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's doing really well. So is it just you and your parents? Are there other family members involved?
Well, my parents, they retired probably about 11 years ago now, so they haven't been in the business for a while.
Okay.
I've been running it by myself. I do have, two other staff members, actually three other staff. My wife is in the business, so she works a few days and then she works the back end. I have another podorthist on staff as well. His name is Tim, and he's working with us to, obviously help people solve their foot issues. And then I have another lady, her name is Sheshton. She's semi-retired. She only likes to come in maybe 3 days a week, just to keep herself entertained in her retirement. But yeah, we're making a great team for sure right now. And it's all about, trying to make sure that we give you as best of a service as we can. And, if there's problems, don't hesitate to come see us.
Yeah, for sure. No, I know you have two teenagers. Do you think that's something they're going to go into as they get older?
My teens, I'm not sure. I mean, that's obviously up to them. I don't force them to pursue whatever I'm pursuing. I at this point, I don't believe they're necessarily excited about it. They haven't expressed an interest yet, but maybe if they need a summer job and they get excited about working in the shop, then that might be one way to slowly introduce them into it. But they both have some different aspirations for sure. My daughter's looking to study animal biology.
Oh, nice.
And my son has a very engineering type mind.
Right.
But in the end, I look at it from, podorthics, yes, is a profession, but that's not necessarily how I define myself. Or I define myself more as an entrepreneur, and I like to solve problems, right? That's, I think, why I like this profession, because it's about solving problems, and obviously treating people right, the way I want to be treated, right? And I think that's really the exciting part about the profession. And I think if they find something where they can solve problems, they're going to be excited, about doing that for the rest of their life as well, right? We want to solve issues for society and ourselves and other people, right? It's about helping others. That really defines, life in general.
For sure, yeah. But I kind of like the idea you said, for a summer job, the opportunity for them could be there if that's something they wanted to do to earn some money during the summer, right?
Exactly.
So I'm sure your employees might want to have a holiday. So maybe if your whatever your kids, if they're old enough, come in. Well, hey, come on in for 2 weeks, see what you like. Give it a go and see what happens, right?
You never know.
Yeah, no, I just meant it's just even that part of it could be interesting. Just that much of it, right?
Absolutely. Well, but it's going to teach them communication skills anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's what I found is kind of the best thing about the retail business is it really helped me learn communication skills. And then I constantly try to improve on that. I try to get better at that. And a lot of it's reading as well, understanding how to explain concepts better, how to have more empathy, right, about somebody's issues, as opposed to being impatient, but
right, to be impatient.
It's okay. I mean, you can be slightly impatient, but at the same time, you have to understand. But if you don't explain something right to somebody the first time, then it's up to us to figure out, okay, how can I make it better next time, so that they can really truly understand.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm just thinking about, because I'm sure you get a lot of seniors in there. And for me personally, as a senior, like I find that my understanding skills get, like it's a little slower, I talk to somebody, if I need technical support, I say, look, talk to me like you're going to talk to a child who doesn't know what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And come from that angle.
That's why they have screen sharing, so that they can do it for you. But then you don't learn it, right?
Oh, yeah. For me, it's important to learn it. Like my daughter will help me sometimes on the computer, but she goes so fast. I'm like, look, what did you just do? I'll never be able to repeat it. But she says,
I get that complaint all the time.
But she has learned though how to work with seniors so that they do understand, so that really makes a big difference. I'm off that topic for whatever reason, but anyway, I just think it's, when you talk about communication, it is so important for somebody to understand, right, what they need, or what they might need in the future, whatever. So
and sometimes you just have to word it differently too.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of how I see it. I mean, or put it in simple terms, because I think a lot of times, we can use all kinds of medical terminology to describe a foot issue. But I mean, if the client doesn't understand what you're talking about, then they can't. I want the client to walk away understanding what the problem is, so that they have a basic understanding of what the issue is, and then that way treat it, themselves, maybe with some of our products, but also having the ability to walk away with some knowledge that allows them to, treat some of these foot issues themselves, especially when it's things like plantar fasciitis, which is a very common condition we see, which is like a heel pain type issue.
Okay.
But those are all different things where, sometimes we can give them simple exercises just to do at home by themselves, so that they can help themselves, not just have us, helping them, with like whatever devices there are. But, there's different treatment options out there that can speed up the recovery, including, obviously maybe using some additional products as well to reduce pain in the short run. But in the long run, you want to loosen up tissues and improve things that way. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, I think we're going to end it there. So I just want to say goodbye to the audience. So you've been listening to Christian Johannsen. That's one of the pronunciations that is okay with him. I'm going to include his website. So if you want some information, or if you need help with whatever your foot problems are, or if it's your back or whatever it is he's talked about, you can always make an appointment and get some help. And thank you for watching the show, everybody. Take care and peace out.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.